Hello, I am Courtney Roth. I am in Dr. Crossley's class for Anatomy and Physiology, and I'm going to be doing my lab today talking about the structure of the skin and bones, and a little bit of muscles, actually. So the first thing that I'm told to do is make sure that I'm not cheating. So I have a couple of papers on here. This one is my structure of the skin. This one is my structure of the bone. Can you point it down a little bit more? This is my structure of the skeleton. This is the paper that has everything I'm supposed to talk about. It's just a written out version of what was on that Word document that was posted to the lab. And this one is everything that I'm specifically supposed to talk about right here so that I make sure to cover it. And then there's nothing behind me as my volunteer just showed you, so that way I'm not cheating. So the first thing I'm going to show is the structure of the skin. So I'm going to talk about the basement membrane. So this basically shows the division between the connective and epithelial tissue of the epidermis. So then the next thing I'm going to talk about is the blood vessels. These are pretty self-explanatory. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the dermis, which is its connective tissue right below the epidermis and right above the hypodermis. The next thing is the epidermis, which is about right here to up here. And this is made of stratified squamous epithelial tissue. Next thing is the keratinocytes, which are within the basement membrane and everywhere else, but I have a zoomed in portion right here that you can kind of see what those keratinocytes look like. Then I have a hypodermis. I'm going to be talking about this area later. Then I have my hypodermis, which there's no clear boundary line, but it is, you can kind of see where it's at because of the adipose fat tissue right down at this bottom portion right there. Then the next thing I'm going to talk about is the melanocytes, which are these right here. These are going to be in our basal layer, but they produce the black and brown pigment. Next thing is the papillary layer. So you can still hardly see it, but it's right here, these pink squiggly lines. It's made up of loose connective tissue. It's about right here to here. And then we have our reticular layer, which is made of dense connective tissue, which is about right here to here. The next thing I'm going to talk about is our stratums. So again, I was talking about the stratum basale, which is this bottom layer of the basement membrane right there. And then we have our stratum spinosum, which is this layer right here, all these keratinocytes. It also has just tons of keratinocytes in it. Then we have our stratum granulosum, which is this right here. In thicker skin, it's a thicker layer. And then above it, we have our stratum lucidium, which this is only, it's the blue line. It only appears in thick skin. Then above it, we have our stratum corneum. And this is just in, it's about 30 layers of dead keratinocytes. And it's kind of what gives skin that's resistance to penetration, resistance to water loss, all those kind of layers. So I just want to make sure that I'm not cheating and that I show you the back of it, that there's nothing on it that really shows any cheating. So there we go. So our next one I'm going to talk about is the structure of the bone. So the first thing we're going to talk about is these blood vessels right here. Nothing new. They're blood vessels. Then we have our canaliculi, which, as you can see in here, it's this squiggly lines that kind of connect these lacunae together right there, so that way they can communicate with each other. Then we have our central or Habergian canals, which are in darker right here, and it allows, it's just a tube where the nerves and blood vessels go through. And then we have our circumferential lamellae. So these outer layers over here, they still have the lacunae and osteocytes in them. And then we have our we have our nerves, which are the yellow portions right here that you can kind of see. Our bone is a living thing, so our brain needs to know if the bone breaks. Then we have our osteocytes, which are within the lacunae right here. These just kind of show, they just help with bone remodeling and stuff. Then we have, we have our concentric lamellae. So again, just these onion layers within the osteons, and again, the circumferentials on the outside. And then we have our osteons, which are these like tree trunk structures. I kind of pulled one up so you can kind of see it, but it hosts the concentric lamellae. It has our osteocytes in it. It has our lacunae. It has our canaliculi in it, and then also those canals. And then the last thing is the periosteum in it. And so the periosteum is this outside layer right here. It connects, it's just a sheath, and it provides a strong attachment for the bone. I want to go back to the skin because I forgot something. The sweat glands, which is our yellow right here. I'm always supposed to talk about that. It is it secretes by exocytosis, and it I mentioned in one of my posts, but it accounts for the pH of the skin and helps cool the body, and it helps prevent bacteria colonization. So again, it's right here. Moving on, we have the structure of the skeleton. So there's a lot going on in this picture, so I'm not going to go over every bit in detail like I have with the other one, but we have our cervical vertebra, which is numbers 1 through 7. We have our diaphragm, which is this pink line right here that divides the thoracic and the abdominal cavity. It helps with air in and extake. Then we have external obliques, which help stabilize the body when you're lifting and stuff like that. Then we have our frontal bone, which is this black one right here. Then we have our hyoid, which is right here. This serves as an attachment for muscles that help move the larynx, help move the jaw, help move the tongue. Then we have our lumbar vertebrae, which is the ones down at the bottom. There's made of 5 of them. Then we have our mandible, which is the bottom of our jaw. And we have our mental foramen on there. Then we have our maxilla, which is this blue one right here, and we have our supraorbital foramen on that one. And then we have our nasal bone, which is this structure right here. Then we have our occipital bone, which I know that it goes at the back of the head, and this is an interior view, but I still kind of drew it and made it seem like this person has a super huge occipital bone. So it's going to be this right here, and it's on the posterior view of the skull. And then we have our parietal. So that's going to be right here. This one is like orangish brown color. Then we have our rectus abdominal. So that's going to be right here, and it helps flex the waist. Then we have our sacrum, which which has, it's so hard to tell, but there's 5 vertebrae right here. And then we have our coccyx, which there's 4 vertebrae. There's like a little notch. You just really can't see it too well. But anyways, it's like right here. And then we have our sphenoid, which is this red, and it's kind of like a bat bone. It looks like a bat. Then we have our temporal, which is in blue. Then we have our thoracic vertebra, which is 1 through 12. And then we have our trapezius muscle, which is this orange right here. Again, there's many layers to our skeleton, so I just drew it kind of behind, but it's in the anterior view, and it has the, just kind of helps move the neck. And then we have our zygomatic bone, which is right here kind of under the eye, and I know I missed a couple. Then we have our sternum, which is our xiphoid process, our body right here, and our manubrium. And give me just one moment. I'm going to go through really quickly and make sure I didn't miss anything else. And that's it. Thank you for watching.